You may be wondering why I'm here. I'm with Rio Tinto. My name's Mathwin. I'm Manager for Pastoral and Ag Projects with Rio Tinto Iron Ore. And I'm going to talk about the technology journey that Rio's been on over the last 12 years or so, and any relationship we can find with the agricultural side of things. I came to Rio about 12 years ago. Before that I was farming for 20 years down south of, down south of Perth, a place called Coconut, which was a bit of a cultural change, as you can imagine, particularly around safety and agriculture. I was a farmer and just had scars on my hands the whole time. Regarding the IT stuff of Rio, I've got a passion for how the farming and mining can come together, but I'm no IT expert. I just know enough to be dangerous. Very briefly, Rio's a big operation, 1,700 kilometres of rail, 16 mines, 350 million tonnes a year of iron ore going out. Probably the point of interest here is we also own the head lease on 6 stations, over 1.2 million hectares, and have 1,600 hectares of irrigation under pivot from excess water from mine dewatering. The what? So Rio came up with the concept of the mine of the future. And what does that mean for a company like Rio? Well, there's 2 levels. One, the obvious one, is the automation. And so Rio spent $940 million on it. It's operated from 1,500 kilometres away. The best example of automation in this context is our rail. I think 80% of our network is fully automated now and they're driverless trains. There was a bit of a joke going around. There was a bit of an incident over in the west with the iron ore companies, and one train was a bit of a runaway. And there was a bit of a joke going, so the train driver hopped out of the train and it headed off on its own journey. There's a bit of a joke going around. Rio spent $1 billion on this and taken 12 years to work out. This bloke's hopped out of the train and worked out in 5 minutes. It was also called the Pineapple Express. So automation context, that just threw me right out the window. Yeah, so the rail's the first, well, is the biggest component. We're also automating haul trucks, drills, etc. The next part of the mine of the future is really around, I love boffins, instantaneous data-driven decision-making. And so the concept there is you're sitting in China, you've got an order for 1 million tonnes of iron ore, and you need to get it delivered. So you whack it in your phone, that goes to the stockpiles at the port. Have we got any there? No, yes. Then it goes to the mine, then it goes to the broken stock in the mine. And at some point, yes, we've got 1 million tonnes available from these 3 mines, and it will be delivered in 2 weeks. It's got another level below that. Obviously, each mine has a lot of dig units and operating equipment. You know, if a dig unit goes down but it's digging that particular ore, then the dig unit talks to another dig unit saying, well, you know, I've broken down, can you get this stuff? Yes, no. Talks to the next mine's dig unit, etc. It's got to the level with the technology there that they know the person who's going to be coming out to fix the dig unit. So if Fred's coming out, he's useless, he takes 2 hours, so you better go to another dig unit. You've got Mary coming, she's brilliant, 20 minutes, so trucks line up and wait till I'm fixed. And that's the sort of level of technology that Rio's really aiming to end at. Historically, that's just taken a lot of phone calls. It's required on the experience of the people on the ground. And as was mentioned a while ago, knowledge disappears. If you lose that knowledge, decisions are problematic. This was quite interesting, this, the normal curves, because I showed it to someone and they said, shit, is that what we're really achieving? I said, no, I've made that up. But it's an aspiration for Rio. So why do we do it? It's about safety. We're removing people from the line of fire. In 1 year, so vehicles and driving are Rio Tinto's highest risk activity. Last year we removed the requirement to drive 1.5 million kilometres. So it's a bit of a no-brainer when you think about that. The second one is obviously production. We've had a 6% increase in the average rail speed, and two words that kept coming up when I did speak to people who actually knew about this subject was the requirement to remove that variability, which is obviously the point of the curves. The wide curves, that's what people do. An automated curve is on the right, where it's really narrow and tight, it's predictable. There's a couple of things here that I'll just skip through. And I suppose the main thing here too, if you're doing a drill pattern and you leave it to a person, they 2% over drill, they put pressure on the bit, which increases the wear and the pressure on the machinery. If you've got automation, you know exactly what that machine's been through. Maintenance becomes predictable, and then you get a lot less downtime of equipment. But there is no point increasing the speed and efficiency of everything if everything doesn't increase with it. And so I suppose my biggest takeaway when I've been looking into this with Rio is you've got to lift the marketing, the customer, the production. So from mine to customer, it's all got to lift at the same time. Otherwise, you end up with a bottleneck at some point. The main thing I came away with was we're producing the same materials, have been since the birth of civilization. It's just how we do it. We both work in very high risk, well, it does seem to be very high risk environments from a safety perspective. One thing that has come up is our industries are complex. And when I say complex, there are a lot of uncontrollable factors that come into the work we do. The main one, obviously, with agriculture is the environment. How much rain am I going to get next year? I don't know. But it's not complicated, but it's complex. And I think that's where the big step for technology here is that it removes those uncontrollables it doesn't remove them, but it gives you more control on those uncontrollables. And so it makes it, maybe makes it more complicated, but certainly less complex. The differences and the challenges I find is Rio Tinto is one big company. It makes a decision at the top and it flows down. You try and get a bunch of cockies to agree, well, you're a master. And the other one was, and this is something that probably I just put down for today, is you know, we've got this bloke who's been running stations for 40 years. I go up there, we look out the window, we look at the cattle, and he says, geez, they're struggling, aren't they? And I look at the cattle and think, well, I don't know. And so how do you take the instinctive knowledge that he has and bring technology to that? And probably, you know, again, listening to people talking today, I just wonder whether we've stepped, for people on the ground, and I'm specifically talking about people probably in the northern regions, you know, stepping to a place that's a quantum away from where we're actually capable of being. Because he's actually managing Rio's cattle through a drought at the moment, and I'm glad he's there. But he struggles to reply to an email, and I'm pretty sure he knows how to turn the computer on, but that's about the limit. Right, last slide. So two takeaways from this. You've got to have a really clear vision and a commitment through resourcing, so that's through people and money, and to succeed. And again, when I was talking to people here, the technology that Rio currently has didn't exist 10 or 11 years ago. Rio had to create that demand. And obviously being a big company with, you know, I won't say bucket loads of money because I'd probably get shot down by some people, but, you know, they've got the ability to draw businesses in and create that technology, and that's really important. And the other one was, which being an ex-farmer I struggle with, it took 11 years of thinking. So you can't read the words on there, but, the creation of that technology took 11 years, and in the last year it all happened. And so you've got to be patient, you've got to have the money, and you've got to have a clear commitment. The one other thing that came up was a lot of this stuff requires trials. Rio's got a definition. If it's not working in 90 days, they stop the trial. So don't keep flogging a dead horse, because it costs a lot of money, wastes a lot of time, and won't let you achieve the outcome. And I'll finish with the little schematic on the right. I can actually see it down there as well. That's brilliant. What is, Rio did it by having that clear vision and commitment. What is the clear vision and commitment that something like the agricultural industry needs to strive for? I mean, I've been doing a bit of work with virtual fencing and the remote stock control. There's a debate going on in Western Australia at the moment because a lot of pastoral stations aren't fenced. Who's responsible? I mean, the stations were there before the roads came in. The reason tourists are going up there is because the government's advertising, marketing that area, so cattle are getting struck. So whose fault's that? Well, it's going to be one of those things that's probably going to be argued about in 30 years' time. We'll come back and say the same thing. But something like virtual fencing where, imagine if and a lot of this to me is about imagination and dreaming, and then you create that vision. Imagine if you did have an app that when you drove in the Pilbara, it enabled you to see every collared animal within 50 metres of the road within a kilometre of where you're driving. And that, from the technology that I've seen today and the existing drive for this type of virtual fencing, is a reality in 10 years' time. And certainly in Western Australia, I'm not so sure about up north, but in Queensland, etc. But where there's no fencing, it's a major issue, and it's one of those things that could, change the direction of the industry. And finally, thanks MLA for the opportunity for presenting. Saved me till last, which I think is a good thing, because best things come last or something like that. And thanks for your time.